Hello, you're listening to Robot Wars History Podcast, a podcast where we look at the development of the show and the British robot combat scene in general by looking at the history of key teams and bots. I'm your host Luke, and with me as always are my co-host Dan.
Hello.
Nick.
Hey.
And our special guest, if you listen to this, you undoubtedly know who this is, Mr. Psycho.
Hi guys.
Oh my god, somebody with talent on this show.
Talent, what's that?
Today we'll be looking at the Shibots of Series 2, or rather the top 10 ones, because an actual Shibots of Series 2 would last 4 hours.
It would be Series 2.
Yeah.
After that weird string of episodes where I tried to be main host and then whatever the fuck happened on the second part of King B, we finally got all three of the regulars back, as well as probably one of the most well-known guests we'll ever have. Yeah.
I don't know about more. I think just most. Yeah, most well-known.
And unfortunately, we got him for this episode. We'll give you a proper episode at some point.
This is my legacy. I'm forever associated with terrible machines.
I don't think we've got a guest. I don't think we've got a guest for Tornado yet. You can come in and make Razor fanboy triggering jokes for like an hour.
An hour?
Well, probably 2 hours to be fair, because that'll definitely be a two-parter. Good God.
So like I said, to make sure this episode isn't a complete clusterfuck, we've decided to make a top 10, and we're going to go through it in reverse order. Let's get right into it. The number 10 Shibots of Series 2 is Jim Struts.
Oh boy, I almost can't believe that this is the team that would go on to make something as surprisingly good as Arnold A. Terminator.
It's literally a box on legs.
The first walker robot. And
if you stretch your definition of walker,
it was something, wasn't it? It really was. This entire... I mean, we'll get onto it in a minute, so maybe I won't actually go into the battle it was in. But yeah, Jim Struts was, shall we say, not the most mobile machine ever.
In its one appearance in the arena, I think it may have travelled overall in circular motion a meter maybe in its 5-minute battle.
it's traveled farther on the cart to get into the arena than it did in the arena.
At greater speed as well, probably.
And it's a massive machine.
It weighs 175 kilograms.
Oh, they made that weight limit count, and it shows.
Yeah.
We may as well just cover the rest of the reserve rumble under this, because if we tackled them individually, they'd take up half this list.
One thing to say from this is that this is one of those robots that has never lost a televised battle. But from the fact that this robot is here should be an indication that qualifier does not necessarily mean it's a good machine.
Well, they won by KO in a 5-way battle. Can Eruption boast that? No.
Basically, Eruption KO to follow at the end of the 10 robot rumble. You know.
Yeah, but did it flick up Bumblebot slightly? I don't think so.
That is certainly an achievement if you want to phrase it like that, I suppose. That is something Eruption would struggle with. Because I think if Eruption tried to flip Bumblebot, I don't think Bumblebot would come down. It would just get tangled up in the rafters and stuck there.
Yeah. I always forget in this battle that there was 5 machines in the end. Because there was Lateral Fort, which had the very resilient armor, Bumblebot, which had the very, very damaging hammer, Forklift, which literally fell apart. And then I forgot there's Malice as well. I genuinely had to look up what this machine looked like. And it was just this thing with the most ground clearance you could ever have, and then a saw at the front, because of course it would be in Series 2.
Malice is what would happen if you averaged every Series 2 robot into just the most average possible machine. It's a box with a lot of ground clearance and a little saw blade on the front.
Yeah.
I think the greatest testament to the quality of these machines is I don't think there's a single machine that shunt attacks where that pitiful axe doesn't punch right through.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like you said with Forklift, I think Kill-A-Lot lifts them up and drags them a bit, and the entire shell just comes off. Just shears off.
Oh gosh.
Oh my god. The grudge match special as a whole is absolutely hilarious for how bad it is. But
Yeah.
oh Jesus Christ. I would have preferred to see a couple of like the super heavyweight qualifying rounds than this.
Yeah.
Oh,
Because like on either side of this fight, you've got Cassius and Napalm both trying to take on Mortis and failing, and then you've got this thing in the middle. But
yeah.
oh god.
Yeah, and I think Jonathan Pierce's commentary line says it all for when Jim Struts is like realized as the winner, because he goes, and meanwhile Jim Struts alone, undaunted, unmarked, and I think a very curious winner.
Yeah, because it just doesn't get into the fight. It survives because the others have just been killed by the house robots. They've ignored these weird, oversized, overweight things.
I think the closest anything got to attacking it was Bumblebot missed wildly with the one hammer shot that it took.
Yeah.
I think the thing is, I just realised this thing is technically heavier than all of the house robots except the Kill-A-Lot.
Yeah.
That just says it all.
Yeah.
What a mess.
Walkers with that weight limit could get kind of crazy. But it would take so long for anybody to actually make a good one. Like, you got to wait until Series 6 before a good Walker robot shows up. And I suppose, what's it called? Drillzilla.
Yeah.
Drillzilla was pretty good. But,
what's kind of amazing about all of that is that Mechadon appeared in BattleBots less than a year after this fight took place.
Yeah.
Mechadon versus Jim Struts. Imagine that fight.
You just run up Robot Wars scoring system, and then Mechadon immediately wins on style.
Yeah.
Because that is a really cool looking machine.
Oh man, if you thought JP lusted over Matilda, wait till you see him see Mechadon.
Oh god.
Oh god.
Anyway, in at number 9 is Pain. And the thing is, you could put Pain, like... Now that I think about it, I don't see how we can have Pain on, but not the reserve bots, because Pain is one of those bots that literally did not work. Like,
yeah.
These guys are apparently, I think, RAF engineers or something, and yet they cannot make a bot that They make a bot that like dies the second it enters. There's no reason for it. Like,
yeah, they're pilots, not engineers, but still.
Oh well, I expect better.
Yeah, you do. God, they apparently they gave it 2 goes at the gauntlet. Because it broke down before it even got in on the first one, so they took it out and gave it another go, and then it just didn't move at all on the second attempt.
The weird thing with Pain is, and the Pathogen Shot, we both saw them enter the arena at the start of the episode, but then they both just die after that when they're meant to actually have their run.
I guess what they did at the start was they must have just had them all drive in and then just take them all out again.
And then Pain somehow broke because a human being touched it.
Yeah. This is a team that came back. Like, they failed to qualify for Series 3 and 4 with something called Judge Met, whatever the fuck that is. It's the same thing but invertible. And then they had Spam in Series 6, and well, Spam is one of those robots that normally gets dropped in randomized series. It's that bad.
Yeah, Spam is not exactly stellar. I think. All right, putting aside the fact that it didn't work, let's just think of how shit this thing would have been if it had actually performed. It had a top speed of 4 miles an hour, and fair enough, Roadblock did too, but Roadblock was a big wedge. This was a box on tracks with a gigantic spike piston on front. Now,
It's shit 101.
I would literally bet my life savings that spike piston, if it did manage to fire, would immediately break.
Yeah, I gotta say that I would be terrified if this machine did work because their piston operated on internal combustion.
Oh, what?
Holy shit!
It's a good thing this wasn't the bloody bot that malfunctioned in Series 2, in Series 3, because if that thing fired out, that guy wouldn't be losing a leg. That guy wouldn't be getting stabbed in the leg. He'd be losing the fucking thing, along with the rest of his body.
Yeah, according to Oliver Steeples, who has a load of fucking behind the scenes information from Series 1 and 2 for some reason, the producers had to ban Payne's weapon, and probably because it was fucking internal combustion. Jesus, that's such terrifying. Good God! This thing combined with the lax safety standards of
it's a blessing it didn't work.
Yeah, dude. To be fair, more pandemonium wasn't actually supposed to be there in Series 3. They just brought the robot along, even though they failed to qualify, and then somebody dropped it and the spike fired.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah, good God. I mean, to be fair, if that hadn't happened, they probably wouldn't have fixed their shit for Series 4. And then you've got stuff like Hypnodisc actually being good in there. Good. And if they made it to like Series 5 with shit like Fluffy in there, where reliability wasn't great,
we would have.
Somebody would have died.
We have a tragic incident where Fatboy Tin accidentally activates and crushes someone, and they have to go to that poor man's widow and say, yes, your husband was killed by something called Fatboy Tin with a snail in it.
They showed a picture of the fucking pig, and it's just like, why?
Yeah, just that smiley. It's just a crime scene photo. That smiley face with blood on it, like the fucking Watchmen logo.
Oh God. Good comic.
Anyway, coming in at number 8 and on a very similar tone, the Pathogen Shot.
Oh God.
Also didn't work ever.
That you could say that for a lot of robots in Series 2 and 3. To be fair,
they worked long enough to get in the arena.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm half convinced that Series 1 was originally much longer, but they had entire heats of robots that just stopped working.
I mean, apparently the house robots broke down at least twice, like in a massive way, like every single one during Series 1.
That doesn't surprise me.
The thing with the Pathogen Shot, its weapon, can you call it a weapon? That thing on top, it didn't even look like it was going to be attached onto the robot. Like it would just sit there until it fell off.
That's probably right.
Yeah.
Considering these guys turned up to 2 series and didn't get it working, I'm not too confident that in the structural integrity or the actual functionability of their weapon.
Oh, no, I am so impressed with their steel mesh armor that they had.
Oh dear. The shot in the pits they have when they've just got the whole robot laid out with its armor, its chassis, its weapon just all over the floor. It looks so tragic. You can tell that they've been working for hours and nothing's going right. And then they turn up a year later. Maybe they've got one wheel moving at best, and then for Series 4 they're like, yeah, okay, we're not very good at this. We'll just give up completely.
Well, the funny thing is, in Series 3, they showed up, and there's actually this shot of them in the pit, working on the robot, but it's labelled Flipper because the robot had already died at that point and had been replaced, and they just showed the Pathogen Shot team with the Flipper team around it.
Technically true.
But good God, it's and this was in in that same heat as some of the other robots on here that we'll be talking about momentarily.
Yeah, this isn't the same. Yeah, well, I'll get to it then.
Yeah.
Coming in at number 7, Rocks.
Oh, this one actually has a slightly long history because it came back. Like it's got this really shitty psychedelic box in Series 2, and then Series 3 brings us Rocks 2, which is basically that but wedgier, and then it disappeared for 3 years, and then came back in Series 6 with this thing that, like, it's a shitty Razor clone, which had become very popular at that point, but it actually has worse armor than Razor because it doesn't have armor. It's completely fair. You can see all the cylinders and all the bits of machinery inside this thing, and yeah, the claw has no holes drilled in it, so they must have been so overweight with that on there that they just couldn't afford to put any armor on it. And
the thing is, this does get a decent way in the gauntlet. So if it was in like most of the heats of Series 2, it probably would have progressed.
Actually, it would have progressed in all but its own heat and heat K. It would have come in like third in a lot of them.
Oh.
Yeah, the gauntlet is so wonky in some of these episodes because you get some of them. I think we discussed this in like the Napalm episode, or maybe it was King B. But there's some of them where there's a robot that scores really well, but still goes home because that was still bad enough to be bottom tier. But then you get others where none of them even make it halfway.
I think regardless of that, it deserves to be on this list because just look at the thing. It's got this massive ground clearance. It's slow as hell, and its weapons, like one of its main weapons, a set of spikes, is literally like 2/3 of the way up on the robot. When you factor that in with the like massive ground clearance, those spikes are probably higher than the majority of robots in the competition.
I mean, to be fair, I'd still back it to turn over Killatron, but that's not saying much.
Well, I think the reason that Roach deserves to be here, I think, is because it kept coming back. It came back post-weight increase when robots were actually good, and it was still just as shit.
Yeah, that's the thing. It coming close in the gauntlet gave the team that glimmer of hope, and we wish it never did.
I will say the Series 6 incarnation, it does look kind of cool, which is more than can be said for the majority of Razor clones.
That's true, yeah. Basically, Razor and Tiberius, I think, are the only ones that look really good. But
it still looks better than fucking Ming 3.
I mean, to give it some credit, it survived a hit from Corkscrew, which is no mean feat because Corkscrew in Series 6 was actually a pretty dangerous full body spinner. But this is a fight we actually discussed before in the Panic Attack episode because it did that with Panic Attack 24K, Chronic 2, and Corkscrew, and well, unsurprisingly, it went home. But, it got overturned by it got lifted up by Panic Attack and then overturned entirely by Chronic 2, and it didn't have a stream mech.
Yeah, Panic Attack lifted it up at its incredibly sluggish, awful pace, and then got flipped like a bitch by Chronic.
Oh gosh, Series 6 Panic Attack.
We've said too much on that already, I don't think.
Sadly.
All right, next.
And then it came back for Series 7 and got dispatched by Spawn again.
If you want to know more about our Panic Attack coverage, we have 2 entire episodes.
Yeah.
Coming in at number 6, Whirling Dervish.
Oh God! This is genuinely the first machine I ever remember seeing on Robot Wars. Why?
I feel so bad for you.
Why did I continue to watch this show?
You know what I'm gonna say?
What was the first machine you guys remember seeing on Robot Wars? Because mine was fucking Razor. Like,
Yeah, mine is probably also a razor or something.
Yeah.
Jesus.
Oh
Like,
god.
sure.
I think it was a Series 1 robot. I think it was a pyramid.
Oh god.
Oh.
I remember because I turned on a Series 1 episode and I saw this slow pyramid get picked on by like this really spiky giant robot and went, well, this is shit. They took BattleBots and fucked it up.
One thing I will say for Whirling Dervish, Forerunner to the current third place champion of Series 10.
Indeed.
Oh,
Chain flail spinner, I guess.
please don't even try to joke about that. This thing couldn't damage Panic Attack Series 2 armor. And Shunt went clean through that multiple times.
Yeah, Whirling Dervish, like, I don't know, it's a shell spinner where the entire bot spins with the shell. So the team just has no idea where this thing is.
Well, they don't try to give themselves any chance of knowing which direction to drive in. Like with Typhoon, it has the flag. With Corkscrew, it has the thing on top with the red at one end, green at the other. With Whirling Dervish, they're just like, let's paint the whole thing grey and get.
Apparently, they had lights in the chassis to show, but like they just couldn't see them under all the arena lights. I don't know how, because that thing was dark as hell.
I mean, they probably put it inside, knowing the Series 2 machines. Because what was that one machine which had like a flashlight? It was a Phoenix which had a flashlight inside of it. Like, why?
Oh god.
Can I just say my favorite feature on Whirling Dervish is the bandsaw blade around the bottom of the shell. So, like, you couldn't even pick this robot up without cutting your hand open.
It's great watching this thing because it's turning so slowly that it just kind of drags the flails against them. It makes like a nice. It kind of looks satisfying, but you just know it's not doing a thing.
Yeah, and this thing made it to the arena.
It made it past the trials. It did pretty decently in sumo, probably because Shunt literally had no idea what to do with this thing. Like, do I push it, or is it just going to go off on its own?
Shunt took about 20 seconds to wake up from his alcoholic coma again. And
Yeah, and I think yes, it got to the arena.
Yeah,
but we have another robot from this heat coming up, and another one that was in this heat is one we've already mentioned, the Pathogen Shot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Imagine if this was your first heat.
Ouch.
Yeah. And I mean,
just imagine if that was the first heat you ever watched.
It would be the only heat you ever watched. To be Whirling Dervish was nominated for the most original entry award.
I guess
but it lost. That
but they probably picked those nominations out of a hat because everything was original in a way because nobody knew what the hell to do.
Yeah, if you didn't build a copy of Roadblock, you had an original entry at that point. So
what I do love about one thing I do love about Whirling Dervish is going into their battle with Panic Attack. They have an interview with the team captain. He says, we'll stand in the middle and whirl. So, Whirling Dervish, inventor of the sit and spin tactic. Another innovation.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
You know what I kind of feel bad about in this? In Series 3 for the World Championship, Mauler got disqualified on safety grounds, but they let this bandsaw with flails in.
All right, but
I think the thing is, Mauler was actually decent at spinning at a decent speed. This thing was so fucking slow and shit that if one of its flails had come off, it would have just fallen to the floor.
Yeah, I don't think we have much to worry about in terms of a read of integrity from Whirling Dervish.
Oh gosh.
You can just imagine how tragic that would look. If it finally got a purchase on Panic Attack and it was just hard enough to make part of the machine fall on the floor.
Oh,
Yeah, like the chain snaps and it flips off, but it only goes about 3 feet and then just sort of hits the ground and rolls into the pit.
Imagine Whirling Dervish's attempt at doing the apex explosion. That would be rather tragic. It would literally just drop to the floor. Everything would go down.
It just goes thud.
Oh dear, Whirling Dervish, what were you?
Coming in at coming in at number 5, Brute.
I am Brute.
I think Brute might qualify as the most box on wheels to ever exist.
This robot looks exactly like my first Robot Arena 2 machine.
No, hang on a second. No, it has proper wheels. Surely the first Robot Arena 2 machine anyone makes has saw blades for wheels.
You know what Brute kind of looks like very appropriately? It kind of looks in shape like a coffin. Like that's what it reminds me of.
Oh god, yeah.
And I know you said it had proper wheels, but it did have plywood wheels.
Yeah, about that. How well did that hold up?
Yeah. It had a second-hand wheelchair motors, which isn't that unusual, but I want to know how second-hand these were. Like, I think these were literally found in, like, Escape. Like, he grabbed them just as they were about to go into the compactor or something.
Yeah.
And its weapon was something called a spring-loaded rod.
Wait, Brute had a weapon?
Apparently.
Really? I thought it was literally a rectangle. Where could this weapon be? I'm looking at it right now. Where is the weapon?
Apparently, it was probably meant to be one of those spring-loaded spike things.
Not pneumatic, spring-loaded.
Yes.
So it works once and stays in the fired position then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Presumably, if it was there to begin with.
Yeah. But the end result of this
rod?
is that it became one of the few things to actually be damaged by Matilda's chainsaw.
Yeah.
She had no problem cutting through those wheels. It was like going through butter.
I mean, it was wood. The one thing that chainsaw would be good at cutting.
Yeah.
But those second-hand wheelchair motors really show their strength because Root cannot get through the brick wall.
Oh, that won't be the last machine we talk about.
No.
I was going to say, in fairness, Brute did knock the wall over at least. Even if
it
couldn't
knocked it
push
over,
it.
but yeah.
It was a classic season 1 Robotica moment where they knock over the bricks and then can't go any further because they can't get over the bricks.
Wait, I think I've just worked this out. On the first part of Heat J, the episode it's in, when it's introduced, there's Brute's official picture with, like, presumably its weapon sticking out. But, okay, it's at the back? I am so confused by this.
Oh my god.
What is it trying to do?
A rear-mounted, spring-loaded rod. That might actually be the worst weapon idea.
Oh my god, it's already fired when it's run start. Oh no. It's a static spike at the back.
It's not static. It is a spike that is hinged on a spring to absorb impact.
You know those toy knives you get around Halloween where the blade just presses into the handle if you push it against something? It's one of those. Like, if it had rammed something without spikes, the spike would have just collapsed back inside the thing and then pushed out when it drove away.
I can't deal with this.
I'm imagining that would be really impressive to Jonathan Pierce and be like, oh wow, it went in all the way up to the hilt.
I can picture him now bigging it up the way he did Toa's weapon. This is one of the most dangerous weapons we've seen in Robot Wars.
I mean, Toe Clutter was bad enough, but JP hyped up Leebot's fan.
It's like 2 seconds before he started joking about pepper pots.
Yeah.
At the very least, about at the very least, Toko took out a watermelon. I literally think in a fight between a watermelon and Brute would come off worse.
That's probably true.
Yeah.
So onto our fourth robot, number 4, Wizard.
This is another one that had sequels. Like this is the parent of Miss Nightshade. But at least Miss Nightshade was slightly interesting. I think this is just another crap full body spinner. Like,
no, I don't think I'm not sure it's even that.
Technically, I think it had. I don't think it was technically a spinner. I think it had chains mounted on the side of the chassis, and the robot was just going to kind of spin in place.
Yeah. Let's talk about those chain flails, right? So when I was researching this episode, and I looked up Wizard, I saw chains, and I thought, oh, they must be rather weighty. They're literally like, I don't even know how to describe them. It's like
bicycle chain.
Not even that. Like it literally looks like the sort of chain you'd find on a necklace has been stuck on the side of it.
It just bung something on there to act as a weapon.
You can barely see it you can actually barely see the chains when it's on screen. They're that small.
This thing is in the same heat as Groundhog, and Groundhog is not the worst robot in this heat.
Technically, neither was Wizard. It made it to the arena battles.
Yeah, to be fair, this heat has Rampage and Sting as well. Oh, good grief. They really wanted to... Literally, Cassius has absolutely no competition in this heat whatsoever. Wizard, Sting, Rampage, Loco, and Groundhog.
Oh, God.
The one thing I do love about Wizard is this little thing they only show in the interview. They have a loudspeaker in it that speaks, to quote the wiki, in a wizard's voice.
That was exactly what he said. That he opened it up and said, "This is where we keep the wizard voice."
Oh God!
I so wish they could. I so wish they had a way of activating that in the arena.
And then again, we'd hear Jonathan Pierce go, "What's that though? That's a wizard's voice."
I'm just picturing this thing just like bumbling its way around the arena while loudspeaker is yelling like fucking Expelliarmus or whatever the shit.
As it goes into the pit, yeah.
The most exciting thing that happens in its football trial is that Sergeant Bash sets the fucking ball on fire.
The most movement that it shows is at one point its hat flies up for some reason.
Yeah.
It literally gets through because Sting dies completely.
And the thing is, on its own, the wizard is bad enough. But as Dan said, this thing came back as the witch. And it was somehow bad enough to let Invertebrat win a battle.
It offers so little resistance to Cassius that Cassius decides to make some challenge for itself by taking on the house robots. That just says it all.
Yeah. Like the witch is a funny thing to look at though, because if you look at the picture of its early design, the cone is straight, but when you look at it on the show, it's bent, and I can't ever feel they just sort of had to squash it to get it to fit into the shed or something.
It just got bent when they put it in the car.
Yeah, yeah.
All right, well, coming at number 3 is the Angel of Death.
Arguably one of the coolest names for a robot on one of the shittest robots ever. From Team Purple Fish. What the fuck?
I mean, the Angel of Death is a rather fitting name because this robot does remind me of a crime against humanity.
Hey. This thing. Oh.
It's really telling that the most effort that Jonathan put into its intro was talking about how it was a parallelogram.
Yeah. This
What?
thing is quite literally double agent from BattleBots in a very, 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 very bad way. Oh, what is it?
Its gauntlet performance is one of the most pathetic things I've ever seen. It literally crawls into the ram rigs and just gets stuck. And the house robots, it's so low that the house robots literally cannot damage it.
Wow.
It was so bad it couldn't even get attacked.
I genuinely have nothing to say about this thing.
No.
Genuinely nothing.
I think
It's that bad. I mean, it's got a cutting disc. Hey, there's some classic Series 2 for you.
You mean it has a slot and the disc is inside of the robot's own body?
It's also got like 3 gigantic spikes on the side that you can just tell are much too just blunt.
Yeah.
I make jokes about floor dildos, but I think those were actual dildos on the side of the robot.
Oh gosh, that's almost not surprising looking at the picture of it. Good God.
I think what's really funny is that like Craig and Philippa make no attempts to like make them feel better. Like Craig just says that was just basically very bad, and then Philippa just negs them while they're in the after the match. Like she's just going to the team member. Oh, you built a pool. That didn't work, didn't it? Oh, you built a birdhouse. Oh, that didn't work either. Oh, your bot's not worked now. It's just. I think that's enough said.
Yeah. Enough said would be saying next up is the Angel of Death and then not saying anything.
Our number 2 bot is Rung.
So we go from one of the best robot names to one of the, I'd say one of the worst.
It's one of the worst looking as well. Like it just looks shit.
It looks like a crap toy car.
Yeah.
Exactly. That was my first thought when I saw it.
It's
It's like one of those really shitty ones that's just like a hollow molded shell with some wheels clipped onto it.
You know that guy on Reddit who the work boots guy who was saying that who said that he could squash carbide because it's the size of an RC car. Ron is the reason why people think that. Thank you very much, Ron, for misrepresenting robot size. What a mess you are.
I mean, just its weapons. Like it says it's got 4 drills, and then when you look at it, they're literally just the drill bits on the robot. Like it's literally just got drill bits sticking out.
Yeah.
My favorite was the hole cutting bits mounted on their drive axles. Because that's going to be effective.
Yeah. And then apparently they claim that the batteries came from a Eurofighter Typhoon.
Ah, yes, definitely.
Yeah, maybe one that had crashed.
Got him.
So in the trial round, because they got through the gauntlet with a pretty decent distance of like 11 meters or something, but in the trial round, they had easily my favorite contradiction in their interview. Yeah. They said, "We don't need tactics. Sumo is our event. We have a lot of torque." And then Shunt got under them and immediately, like the moment they started moving, and put them out.
Yeah. There's just some sumo runs, because sumo was always wonky. Because there would always be somewhere where Shunt just shoved them off in 2 seconds, and then somewhere it would take the time to toy with them a bit. But no, this one they fucking rammed it straight off.
But the thing with Shunt is he was probably not trying to get Ron off immediately here. He was just, trying to warm it up. But Ron is that bad, it just fell off anyway.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, good. I don't think anyone needs to see any more of Ron than we did.
No, I've just realised by looking at the wiki, these guys come back with Axios, which isn't that bad at all.
Oh yeah. They went from Ron to a bot that gave a decent fight against the champion, And I know that's not saying much given Series 3 Panic Attack, but still.
Series 3 Panic Attack that couldn't fucking drive.
Series 3 Panic Attack, the second worst incarnation after Series 6.
Yeah, obviously. God.
Yeah. Anyway, on to the main event, number one. It couldn't have been anything else.
It
Piece
really
de Resistance.
Oh, God. But let's be fair, Mike's show just gave this thing a new name. So many people will just refer to this thing as piece of shit now.
Yeah, that actually says quite a lot. I was just typing its name into the wiki, and I genuinely put Piece D, and then started with S for resistance. So it didn't come up. Oh, man.
Mike feels to have created a small meme in the Robot Wars fandom.
So, I gotta say, my current YouTube channel and my live review show would not exist without Piece de Resistance. Because I was doing gaming and I didn't have any success with that, and so I'm like, okay, I'll review Robot Wars. I'll go through the old series and stuff because I've never seen it, and I don't want to spoil Series 1 because I want my real reaction. So I'll watch one episode of Series 2 and see if it's actually funny enough to watch. And then Piece de Resistance was there, and holy shit, did I laugh so hard. If it wasn't for that, if it wasn't for Piece de Resistance, I would not be making YouTube videos right now.
Wow. Thank you, Team Death, for providing us with so much content.
Oh God, I love Team Death. They come back so many times with just they bring Death warmed up in Series 3, and it's basically piece of shit but bigger. And then they have Immortalis in Series 5.
Yeah, I was going to just say, for what we realised with Mike's Heat A of Series 5 review the other day, there is so many bad first-round robots, and Immortalis is one of these as well. And so Team Death will be fun again.
They have Metalis in Series 7, which, you know, it still dropped out in the first round, surprise, but it doesn't look quite as completely shit as the rest of them. I mean, it is, but...
And there's also their team captain. He built Chimera, which shows up in Series 8 and 9, and is the most anemic-looking Flakbot that I think I've ever seen. It's a Flakbot with what looks like a nail head on the end.
Yeah.
But I just want to say, I just want to go through a few stats here for Piece de Resistance. It's 57 kilograms, so a good nearly 30% under the weight limit. And it has four-wheel drive, and those four wheels are tricycle wheels. My main note for Piece de Resistance is the plow is wonky.
Plow is a strong term.
Oh, yeah.
It was literally like a plastic snow shovel.
It is, yes.
And I think they said the body shell was a microwave.
That can't be true because the bot itself looks massive for some reason.
They just stacked like 12 microwaves together,
and it still somehow weighs 57 kilograms.
Yeah, it has those tricycle wheels, but unfortunately, powering those tricycle wheels are windscreen wiper motors from a Mini, like one of the old style Minis. So it's unsurprisingly one of the most well-known appearances of this thing. It bumping repeatedly against the brick wall and not making a single dent in it.
I could probably kick them bricks over. How do I have more power than Piece de Resistance?
And it survives just because Caliban died, basically.
Well, no, let's be fair. It survives because Kilowat picks it up and then just drops it like halfway across the arena.
Oh, yeah. Oh, God. The House Robots were questionable additions to the Gauntlet. That's
I think...
You know, as much as there is to say about Piece de Resistance, I gotta say my favorite part of it was the team captain.
Oh, yes.
Because just the things that he said that were so far distanced from reality were hilarious. Like, yes, we have the shovel to lift the bricks out of the way. Or the it's flexible so it will wobble the barrels out of place in the trials. And Philippa says, what have you guys done to repair your robot? He's like, it's turbocharged now.
I think that literally means just charge the batteries again.
But that's the thing, because he's such like a hard person to read. You can't tell if he's genuinely being serious or joking.
It does not seem like
even more funny.
Like I love the team. The team is hilarious, and I'm so glad they were on the show because it just made like otherwise this would be just another robot that we just laugh at it for looking goofy.
Yeah.
But the team made it.
It's one of those things where the team acting so serious about it does something to make it funnier, as opposed to say Scorpion, where you get the sense that team genuinely believed their robot was really good in Series 4 and Extreme 1, when it so obviously wasn't.
I think, you just get the sense from Team Death that they're just helpless before the wild hands of fate. Like, we've got increased power. Fails to knock over a single barrel. Gets immediately flipped.
Yeah. Good God, this was the first heat of Series 2. They thought, Mentron thought that this was the episode to lead off Series 2 with, where Peace to Resistance becomes one of the most well-known images from that episode, and the winner is napalm on somewhat questionable circumstances.
Not even questionable, like outright just napalm, lost and then got through. The only thing I wish is that we'd gotten to see Napalm versus Peace to Resistance, because I think a battle that tremendously shit would just like
close down the show immediately on the spot.
You would melt my brain watching that.
BBC pulls the show halfway through the match.
Yeah. It's just like that would be the Robot Wars episode that gets a 1 out of 10 on the live review.
That might get a negative 1 out of 10.
Have you given out any ones? I can't remember the score.
Was this episode not a 1?
It was a 3.
I think I gave out a 0 at one point, but that was just because I was upset at a match outcome.
I'll have a quick look.
There was this one was a 3 just because of the dodgy editing around the rematch for the final.
What are you having a look at? Is there a list somewhere?
Yeah, you've got a subreddit, didn't you know?
Really? I need to find this.
No, I was being sarcastic. I'm British.
Get my hopes up and
you are cruel. I'm just actually finding the Series 2 Heat A episode itself because I want to see what score that got.
Yeah.
It got a 0, yes!
Well deserved.
Napalm's Heat, Peace to Resistance's Heat got a 0. I am so happy.
And now it's the title holder of the coveted Peace to Shit award.
well deserved.
Yeah.
Well, I think that about covers it.
Yeah. These are certainly some very, very interesting machines.
I will say, like, some of them aren't... The thing with Series 2 is, like, even the worst bots, most of them aren't the kind of, like, really bad bots where it's kind of, it's so bad that it's entertaining. And I think that just fits the main thing about Series 2 is so much of Series 2 was just so mediocre that, apart from the bots that stick out, like Peace to Resistance and Pathogen Shot or Napalm, and apart from the really bad ones, and apart from the really good ones, like Panic Attack and my boy Cassius, so much of Series 2 is just the most forgettable stuff in the entire series.
Yeah. I mean, the thing is, I think, in a way, I think for shitbots, Series 3 is somewhat worse, because there's more of them. They made that series so long because I think it's an 18 heat series.
At least things like pièce de résistance, you could laugh at it trying to knock down bricks and barrels. But in series 3, they'd normally just break down before the other robot because they dropped the trials and the gauntlets. So
yeah, they would put it on the floor in the arena and then it wouldn't move.
Take max damage, for example.
Oh, that was the example I was about to use.
I will say Series 2 definitely did give us some of the highest troughs in the series, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
The lowest peaks.
Yeah, I think one of the best things that we got from the result of that was just them. They started doing have the robots drive into the arena thing for subsequent ones, and that I always liked the way that looked, because at least that ensured that the robot was driving before they set the fight off. Whereas if they just carried them into the arena and put them on the floor, then they could just drop the removable link, which happened to Dreadnought. Which, looking over this list, I'm surprised Dreadnought isn't on it. But
well, don't you know, we're saving it for a special Dreadnought episode.
Everybody's going to tune in for that one.
It's just like four series, and we just cover it in about 10 minutes. Because they put it in the arena, it drove forward and caught fire.
That could have been a special bonus at the end of our Napalm one, if our Napalm one wasn't already 80 minutes long. Just and now we talk about Dreadnought. It moved and then died. The end. We'll do it as a double feature alongside the long-awaited Onslaught episode.
Oh, for goodness sake. You have to bring that up once an episode, don't you?
To be fair, I was the one who came up with the episode, with the idea of an Onslaught episode, so I'm allowed to.
I agreed to it, but yeah, it was Luke's idea. Blame Luke. Send your hate mail to...
Well, lads, I think that about covers it.
Oh, it certainly does.
Thank you for coming on the show, Mike. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, this is great.
Yeah, it was good to have you on here, definitely.
Well, until next time, see you, fellas.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.